There aren't many athletes out there as exposed to climate change as those who compete on the snow. With the 2026 Milano-Cortina Winter Olympics fresh in our memories, the institution itself is contemplating its own future. If the world continues on our current path, studies show that the places that will be able to host the Games will be roughly cut in half by later this century. Well, winter athletes are wanting to do something about it. If you paid any attention to Aussies at the Olympics, you'll recognise mogul skier Jackson Harvey and freeskier and commentator Miff Rennie. Armed with their lived experience and passion for the sport and environment they love, these two are bringing awareness to the challenges facing our mountains. This is the POWcast from Protect Our Winters Australia, and in this episode, POW climate campaigner Elyse Kochman sat down with Miff and Jackson before the Olympics kicked off for a behind-the-scenes look at the Games, how climate change impacts them as athletes, and why they are standing up to protect the sports they love. Let's get into it.
I'm Miff. I'm a professional freestyle skier. I compete in slopestyle and big air, but I've had a funny few years with 3 knee surgeries, which has led me down the route of sports presenting and media and getting to commentate the up-and-coming Olympics and a few other sports competitions and things that are coming up here in Australia, which means I'm now based in Sydney and I live just on the coast outside of Sydney. It's pretty epic spot.
I'm Jackson Harvey. I'm a member of the Australian freestyle moguls team. So that's my sport. And I'm currently in Val-Saint-Côme, which is in Quebec, Canada. I've got a World Cup coming up this week. One of the last events to hopefully qualify for the 2026 Games. So pretty exciting week ahead.
So I started skiing, like I said, I'm from Sydney. I live on the coast, but the mountains are where I call home. I've grown up in the ocean and splitting my time between skiing and surfing and all that sort of stuff. Pretty amazing childhood, to be honest. I started skiing when I was pretty young, about 8, whatever, like quite a young age. My parents were ski patrollers. So they volunteered their time on the snow so we could get free lift passes, free ski gear, that sort of stuff at Selwyn Snowfields, which when you think about all of POW and what they're doing, Selwyn is one of the biggest resorts to have been hit by climate change, and it's been wild the way that they've had to deal with the lack of snow and the fires and everything like that. So that's hard to look at down the track. But yeah, so I started skiing at a young age. Joined the Australian team at 13 and did my first World Cup around 16 years old, I think. Yes, young. So I've done a couple World Cups, competed at World Championships, and on my way to qualify for the Beijing Olympics right before the Games started, I blew my knee. Since then, I've had 3 knee surgeries and on and off snow for 4 years. It's been a challenging way to balance your ski career when you're on crutches for most of it. But honestly, there's been a lot of silver linings come from it. And I still get to work with amazing brands like POW and align with you guys and still get to spend my time in the mountains and on snow. And I'm just finding my way back into the comp scene at the moment.
My story is probably a little bit different from most Australian athletes in that I didn't actually grow up full-time in Australia. I was born and raised in Colorado over in the States. Mom is an Aussie, dad's American. So I trained, I did all my development stuff over in the States, a little town called Winter Park, Colorado. And then I've been out in Oz for coming up on almost 5 years with the program. So started training with the national team in 2023, I believe.
Thanks, Jackson. So when did you get involved with POW? You're a member of our POW Athlete Alliance, and we're so lucky to have you. When did you get involved, and why did you choose to get involved with Protect Our Winters?
Yeah, I reached out kind of midway through last year, and I've been kind of aware of POW for a while. I think a lot of my peers in the snow sports community have spoken about POW, and I thought it was a super cool opportunity. It's something that I'm pretty aligned with.
Is there anything that sort of first sparked your interest to want to protect our winters? What sort of was the catalyst that made you care not just about your sport, but about sort of the environmental side of it as well?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't remember there being any sort of one significant moment where I really kind of clicked and started to care. I grew up obviously loving winters. That was a huge part of my life growing up. Both parents worked in the ski industry for all my life, and so I was very much connected with that community for yeah as long as I can remember. Sounds cliche, but um, yeah, and I've just kind of had a massive respect for the environment, and I'm well aware that uh, to go skiing you need snow and cold weather. Um, and yeah, as I've grown up and had some experience over the years, and after I've started traveling and seeing Europe and Australia and North America, uh, yeah, I've personally kind of witnessed the decline in quality and duration of the winter seasons, and that's started to impact my training as well. Um, but yeah, I've kind of always, I think, aligned with the cause. It's just sort of it's pretty natural to me, I would say.
I think I'll start with Selwyn. I grew up at Selwyn Snowfields, and when we had the big fires, what was that, 2020? The big fires that came through New
Yeah,
South Wales?
2019, 2020,
Yeah.
yeah.
Selwyn burnt down completely. They lost everything, and since then they've really struggled to open for a season. I don't know if they actually have opened for a full season due to the lack of snow, due to fires, due to flooding. It's been gnarly to see, and you can't deny that in any way. It's right there, and everyone's felt it. The community, the economy from that town, like the tourism, it's been really impactful. I also grew up in a house where my parents have worked a lot around climate, and my mum is she's going to correct me because I'm probably going to get this wrong, but she the non for profit for design declares. And so I just have grown up around a dining room table where we have discussions about this. So it's been something that I've been aware of for a long time and quite passionate about. Power approached me a while ago. I was quite young. I would say about 16, maybe 17, and started working alongside POW. And then this year, everyone's come back in full force, and it's really cool to be part of the team again.
Well, it sounds like you really do have that particular sort of event, those fires that jump started wanting to really be involved, but having those seeds throughout your whole childhood, listening to your parents growing up, having that always be there, were those conversations that they had with you even when you were young about being environmentally conscious, caring for the planet, looking out for the places where you're surfing, where you're skiing? Is that something that you guys would regularly talk about?
Yeah, I think so. I don't really feel like there's been a chapter of my life where I haven't had a conversation like that. And it's definitely evolved. It went from take three for the sea. If you're at the beach, you pick up your rubbish, you leave nothing but footprints behind, and you take nothing but memories, those sort of conversations. And trying to be really renewable. My mum's always been the whole reduce, reuse, recycle. You don't need to buy new clothes, that sort of thing. So it's cool to grow up with those conversations and then just shifting your mindset to be that way. But as you get older and as we've realized more down the track what the issues are, like coal and gas and emissions and CO2s, the conversation does start to shift. So it's cool to get to partner with brands that can see it more so than just picking up rubbish, which is amazing as well. Like everyone plays their role. But yeah, it's always been a conversation. It's just evolved over time.
Amazing. Well, and you've done such a great job using the platform you have to really be an advocate and speaking out. So we're super grateful to have you, and I think you're a great voice for our planet.
Oh, thank you.
Is there anything in particular, either in Australia or overseas, that you've seen in terms of winter season timing changes or snowpack depth or conditions? Is it icier? Is it slushier? Things like that over the years of your training?
Yeah, obviously in Australia specifically, it's I would say a pretty sensitive area, especially when it comes to the national team and planning our training year. And domestic season's a pretty important part of the year for us, as obviously we don't have to travel anywhere else, which for Australians is pretty huge. It's hard to get to snow otherwise. And I actually came out in 2015 when I was a Grom and did a season, and that was kind of my first look. And then, yeah, since I've been back the past few years, um, we were pretty lucky this season. We had a good snow year, and that had a big impact on the way that we were able to train and kind of how we're looking coming into this season. So we're pretty lucky with that. But um, previous seasons were definitely shaky, and we certainly had to make pretty significant alterations to our schedule and kind of pivot and look at different training opportunities, either traveling overseas, which is expensive and timely, or not having on snow opportunities and just going to the water amp instead.
I think spring came a lot earlier than usual. And as a park skier, we our conditions shift a lot due to the temperature. So the snow affects our skis and how fast we go into jumps. And there was a lot of days where we were not jumping and where the jumps were
Hmm.
taken down earlier in the season than what they usually would be. So that you do notice things like that is where we used to be able to jump for majority of the season and hit these big 60-foot jumps. One, they weren't there, and two, the smaller ones we were really struggling to make speed for. So I think that was something that stuck out. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like you get to enjoy it and we're here and we're present, but people aren't realizing that down the track,
Yeah.
that argument that people have.
Yeah, it's also interesting too with, like, even though it was a great snow season, it's the condition of the snow. So if it's slushy, like, I was out there a lot of days where it was mushy out there. Like, there was snow, but it was mush, and it's interesting to hear that that impacts, yeah, the speed that you guys have up to jumps and what kinds of jumps you can do, even when it is a good snow season. I noticed, at least on Hotham and Falls, at the end of the season, the snow went from being there having snow to, like, being gone really quickly. Like, once the temperature started heating up, it heated up really fast and everything just melted.
Yeah, and it's like, I remember driving up past Dana's Gap when you drive to Jindabyne to Perisher and you go over that hill, and I have memories when we were younger and it was just snow. That was you just walk a few snowfields to get to Perisher, and then it's now you drive to Perisher and there's snow because of the snow guns, and you notice the gaps of where there's no more natural snow.
Yeah, and that's something where, like, even in our Changing Snowscapes report talking about where that snow line is, and it's getting higher and higher. So even if it's still snowing at elevation, that elevation that it's actually getting to and reaching is a lot higher than what it used to be. So, yeah, it's crazy to see that you've noticed that just in your lifetime
Mhm.
from driving to these places.
Another big kind of shocking moment was this year actually. Western North America is off to a pretty horrendous, kind of uncharacteristic start to the season. And I had the opportunity to go home to Winter Park for Christmas, and yeah, saw very much firsthand how the lack of snow and the warm temperatures are absolutely destroying the season so far. And the impacts that it's had on the town, the community, economically.
Were there changes that you've noticed in the winter conditions while you were abroad over your career? Were there things where you saw different variable snowpack or conditions that impacted competitions you were at?
Yeah, well, there's been training grounds that we trained at on glaciers that we now don't go to. 'Cause that's just pointless. It's just the weather is just too unpredictable in the sense that is there even gonna be enough snow anymore to build parks and the training facilities? So that's a huge one. And then, yeah, competitions are just the weather is really unpredictable and the courses are. So even with the Olympics, I think there was a snowfall like a week ago that's been really helpful, but
Mm,
before that, they were having conversations of how the hell are we gonna run the Olympics in
yeah.
Lavinia? 'Cause there isn't enough snow right now, which is nuts. That's never been the case. I've been skiing at Lavinia since I was about 13 years old, and yeah, I've never been to Livigno and gone, oh, there's not enough snow to build a course. Whereas now they're like actually going, oh my God, where do we build the course? So that's mental.
I guess another point that I'd touch on is the fact that one of our pretty major World Cup events, which is in Deer Valley, Utah, was actually canceled this year purely due to lack of snow, which I'm not sure has happened at least in recent times. So that was, yeah, that's been a pretty big deal for us, especially in a big season trying to qualify for the games. Missing it
Yeah.
like that is a pretty big deal.
You might have heard Elyse mention the Our Changing Snowscapes report, an independent study by the Australian National University and the Australian Mountain Research Facility, which takes a comprehensive look at climate impacts in the Aussie Alps, from the environment to the economy and regional communities, and what the data says about its future. Head to protectourwinters.org.au to check it out.
So I guess we'll move more so to what it's like to be an athlete. It's such a small world to have be a part of sort of this elite level of athletes. So what is a day in the life of an athlete who's training for these major events? What did that look like for you?
Well, I'm someone who loves being an athlete. Like I adore it. I love the routine. I love working out. I love exercise and nutrition. It's something that takes up my time, whether I'm training for an event or not. So I think it's pretty similar whether I'm at home or whether I'm on the snow, whether I'm traveling. But yeah, it's waking up, it's routine. So I journal every day. I have since I was 13. If you look in my room, I've got boxes and boxes of journals, which I think is really cool. So
That's amazing.
I stick to my routines. I journal what may be concerning me, which could be climate and the lack of snow and the conditions, or when it comes to a World Cup, the snow conditions that affect how the course is running, all that sort of stuff. I I get up, I train, we go to the snow, we're on hill, train for about 5 hours, come home, fueling our bodies constantly, and then either a little light gym session, a recovery session, home, work, study, social media content, that sort of stuff. And then I chill out and fully knock off for the day. And that tends to be like my schedule here or anywhere, is just I like to find a routine that I can stick to, and I find that I build good habits from that.
Yeah, it's great. And it sounds like everything you're doing in your day really leads to making you a better athlete. So it's like always thinking about how can you be better, improve, what does this have to do to improve my training, improve, yeah, like the mental side of it, all of that. That's great.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, I do think that. I also think that I was super strict. This is like one thing that I've learned a lot through knee rehab, and I talk about this all the time. If you've ever listened to a podcast with me, you would definitely have heard me say this before. But before my first big knee injury, I was so obsessed with like 1% better every day, 1% better every day. Like show
Yeah.
up, do something, and there was a lot of guilt or something on days where yesterday I was quite under the weather, so I literally laid on the couch all day. I didn't get up, and that's okay because that's the best you could do it that day. So I think there's a lot of, especially young athletes, and I think young female athletes need to hear that it's okay that if the best you could do that day was to lay on the couch and recover, and to just be kind to yourself in that moment. Be kind to yourself if you don't have a good training day, and if you fail at a competition, like that's fine, as long there's always going to be a takeaway from it. And it's just maybe that 1% better is actually doing the only thing you can do that day, you know?
I think with the yeah, like the 1% better is sometimes that recovery period, that's what you need to be that 1% better. Like your body does need that recovery. Is there like how do athletes when you're training for these types of competitions, how do you balance that training, the competition and the recovery? I mean, is there set times or do you really just intuitively listen to what your body needs and go with it on a day-to-day basis?
I think it's good. This is one thing that I'm learning is I like time blocking. Do you know that? Where you go,
Mm.
If
Yeah.
I don't write what I'm doing down, I'm likely to just not do it." So I'm like, "Okay, I'm dedicating 2 hours to this, and then this and this." And obviously there's leeways in life and everything that gets in the way, but I'll try my best to to stick to that. But then there's also just intuitively listening to your body. And it's knowing what's important to you that just makes you feel good, whether that's watching a
Mhm.
movie, whether that's going for a walk with your friends, whether that's going to get a coffee. So just finding little things that you just need to switch off of and enjoy, and that's
Yeah.
balance.
Yeah, great. I think and making sure you're taking that time for yourself because it's easy to like get lost in all of the whirlwind of what's going on, especially in the lead ups to a World Cup championship or the Olympics. There is a lot going on. And so, yeah, prioritizing yourself is part of that whole plan. I think that's great. And I need to try time blocking.
Oh, dude, so good. I
Amazing.
have
So I guess
breakdowns.
for high level competitions, like you're saying, World Cup championships, Olympic Games, in that last couple months leading up to that competition, so like where we're at right now for a lot of these athletes getting ready for the Olympics, what does that prep plan look like? And is it different than your regular training regime? Is it a lot more competitions, qualifying events? How do you kind of balance that last month leading up to a major comp?
Yeah, so, like I said, I've been injured for a long time, and I've
Yeah.
sat out of the World Cup tour, but when I was on it, the l so it changes depending what time of the year, but say you're qualifying for the Olympics, the World Cups do ramp up. You have 18 months to qualify for the games, and there's I think it's like 12 World Cups, maybe even more thrown into that 18 months. So it's a lot of travel, a lot of competitions, but I think it's a time of stress. Your body's under stress and anxiety and things like that. So it's just going back to, okay, what makes me feel good? What doesn't? How can I eliminate that? How can I make sure that the things that really light me up or calm me down or something, and finding your core uh, tools, they're just things
Mm.
that you need to take with you, and that for me would be journaling. That for me is an early night. That for me is an early morning. It's good food. It's time with my friends. It's watching a cheesy rom-com when I'm tired. You know what I mean? It's like little things
Yeah.
like that that you just need to keep consistent, and then block out the things that aren't really gonna help you in that month. You know, what makes the boat go faster kind of thing.
Jackson, you're in the Northern Hemisphere season now. What does this sort of last few months pre Olympic period look like for you? I know there's a lot of World Cup and qualifying. How do you balance sort of that training and the competing? What does that look like right now in this really short window you have?
Yeah, so we headed overseas early November. Spent a lot of time in Finland training, and then that we had our first couple events in Finland. Those went pretty well. Then we had a bit of a break for Christmas, and we've just arrived in North America, and we'll have two more events before the games. So one in here in Canada, and then one in the U.S. And yeah, they're back to back. We're kind of in the comp mode. Not a whole lot of training opportunity at this point. It's kind of it's time to put the pedal to the metal and get the job done, which is exciting. And then if all goes well and to plan, we'll head back over to Finland for a little prep camp a few weeks before the games, and then hopefully down to Italy.
Knowing that there's a lot of variability in sort of that snowpack and you don't actually know what it's going to look like just yet, does that change how you mentally or physically prepare for the games? Or is it the same and you just go in and you take it with stride? Or is there anything you can do to prepare for that?
I think in mogul skiing, we're pretty lucky in that the course itself doesn't rely a whole lot on a super large area of the mountain being covered. So as long as we have enough snow in that small area, we should be able to get the course
Yeah.
up and running. It's probably more the very like the day to day variability in the conditions. So if there's like a gnarly melt freeze, and we get super icy conditions, that can be challenging. And then likewise, if we get super warm temps, and it's super slushy, it can be, like a totally different course from, the training day to the competition day, depending on, temperature fluctuations and snowfall.
Well, I guess with that, do you think knowing that there is that variability, that high variability, do you think that you have to be more adaptable than athletes say 10 years ago were? And that can be in what conditions you see or where you have to go to find training spots. Is this something that you think there's been a change over the last 10 years or so?
Yeah, absolutely. The obviously the quality of um the skiing and the sort of the threshold for performance has obviously gone up, and people have looked for more opportunity. But I think a big reason of that added travel is definitely um changing snowpacks and a changing environment. Like we've certainly had to seek out training camps much farther from home than we used to. So I definitely see that as a major factor.
So, Myth, can you let us know what your role is then in the upcoming Olympics and what your path looked like to get there?
Definitely. So I'm commentating the games, which is really, really exciting. I love to be the voice of my favorite sport in the world to Australia and get to give my intel and then also get to share the stories of the athletes that no one knows because these are my friends, you know? So I get to talk about my best friend Kirsty Muir on a level that not many
Mm.
commentators would ever get the privilege of doing. So that's really exciting. I get to work with Channel 9 and some of the best commentators and broadcasters and journalists in the biz, which is so exciting for me because I love it. I love it so much. The journalism side of things and sports presenting and commentating, it's such an exciting new world for me. I got the job off the back of the last Olympics, which I commentated because I qualified and then blew my knee. So I commentated those games, which was really fun. Very nerve-wracking as an 18-year-old getting thrown into the deep end a little bit, but I think I did well, and I'm excited
Mm.
this year to go in with a little bit more prep and an understanding of what I'm doing, and then to get to do it alongside David Colbert and some other really big names is really, really exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
Have you learned a lot being able to work alongside some of these incredible athletes and other commentators? And how did you find sort of that transition from being an athlete to being on the other side of it?
Yeah, definitely. Well, firstly, I think I don't actually find much of a difference. Obviously, I'm sitting in a chair and I'm talking, but I'm a good talker. I don't shut up, so it's actually great for me. But the prep for things is the same, you know, preparation is key, like you fail to prepare, prepare to fail sort of thing. So
Mm.
it's like the same thing, you gotta show up, you gotta do the work, and then you gotta sit there and you know that you've done the work to be able to perform, and that's the same on skis or it's the same in a commentating booth. So there's a lot of similarities. And I always think of this, I don't even know if this makes any sense, but my old primary school teacher in year 6, she used to say you only know as much of the tip of you only know as much as the tip of your pinky finger, which is like
Mm.
so dumb, but I think about it all the time in the sense that like, okay, I'm in this room having this conversation alongside these people, like what can I possibly like how much knowledge can I get and how many like connections can I make out of these people so I can
Mhm.
progress down the line. So it's just the same case as same in skiing. Ask your coach as many questions as you can. Screen record the skiers that you like and watch it over and over and over again. Same with commentating. Listen to them over and over and over again. Watch the sport over and over and over again. You know, just fill yourself with as much knowledge as you can for it. So I've loved it, and I've just loved being around the same people, like people that are interested in the same thing and getting to have those conversations. It's been so fun.
There's always so much to learn, and it sounds like you're learning a lot. And it's amazing that you still get to be in the world that you love and being surrounded by the people doing the same things that you love doing. Are there elements of the Milan Cortina sort of setups or venues that you're excited to watch? Is there anything you're really looking forward to seeing?
This is gonna sound so Gen Z of me, but I love all the TikToks that come out the Olympics. I just wanna see the what I eat in a days, the vlogs. I love that stuff. I just wanna see all the little behind. Well, I mean, I've never got to go to one, so not yet. So I'm just like obsessed with watching those. So yeah, I just want all the behind the scenes action from everyone, please. The uniform, like try ons. I love all that stuff. But yeah, all of the travels at the opening ceremony always makes me cry. I love it. Like it's all so good. And then the course, I've seen the write-up, the drawing of the slopestyle course, but it's going to be awesome. The rails section, they've got a bunch of little half pipe actions going on. So it's going to be really exciting. And then I just love watching athletes perform at something that they've worked their whole life at, you know?
And be able to cheer people on when you know how hard they've worked and you actually, I mean, you've done it the same way. Like, you know what goes into being able to make it to that point. So, yeah, being able to cheer people on and seeing, I think TikTok is amazing now because you get to see that real behind the scenes look that we've never really had access to prior to this. And from an athlete's perspective, not just someone who's interviewing, but from the people who are actually there and experiencing it, it adds a whole nother level to what we get to see from these games. What particular coverage are you going to be doing during the games? Are you going to be interviewing athletes before they go out, when they're done? What can we look out for from you?
I wish I was going to be there interviewing athletes. No, I'm based in Sydney, unfortunately. No, Sydney's amazing. Fortunately, I get summer in Sydney, but I will be based in the North Sydney 9 studios. So we just commentate from there. So I'll be commentating. I'm the expert commentator. So if most people don't know this, but there's a what are they called? A caller and an expert commentator in the booth. The caller is the one that knows commentary perfectly. So that would be the David Colbert or the Luke Nella. I'm also working with him. So they call the ads, they call the times, they call the athletes, and then I'm the one that explains the tricks, how they work, why the athlete would choose that line, that sort of thing. Try and break down the. So I'm doing that on snow, and then I'm hoping I'll get some little online content up as well over on TikTok and Instagram and talking to the athletes through socials and doing little breakdowns of the sport, the athlete stories.
Just climate change in general, it can be a a hard topic to talk about sometimes. Is it something that you do find comes up in conversations with other athletes or your coaches? Is it something that is out in the open that people talk about in your sport, or do people kind of shy away from it? What have you seen in your team or just in the sport in general?
I think considering how big an issue it is and the yeah, how significant the implications are for our sport and our livelihood, I don't think it's spoken about perhaps as much as it should be. It's definitely, it floats around. It'll come up. For example, when we have a major event canceled, I think people start to talk about it a little bit, and there are certainly a few fellow athletes that have voiced, specifically um, their sort of their perspective on climate change. But yeah, it does sort of confuse me at times. The lack of communication and discussion around it.
What role do you think athletes, commentators like yourself, can play in protecting winter's future, the future of snow in Australia?
We have these platforms to educate people, and we need to continue to educate ourselves, advocate people to sign the waivers to go to the protests, to change their gas and oil and electricity companies, that sort of stuff. And then to collaborate with brands like you, with ski resorts that are trying to take a step forward. So I think what POWer stands for is exactly the representation that we should be. What POWer stands for is what we should be representing as athletes. So that to me is just sharing your knowledge online and trying to get people on board to do the same thing.
Yeah, I think it's a unique role. I think in a lot of ways, people who don't necessarily experience a lot of the changes that are happening, maybe they live in regions that are sort of more moderate climate wise, and perhaps that's like a reason why it doesn't resonate with them as much. I think that we're sort of seen as this group who is the most involved and the most impacted by climate change. And so we're sort of regarded as like the experts in at least the experiential knowledge of what's going on. And so our role is to share the experiences, and the impact, and sort of paint the personal, emotional, um, picture of what's going on. And I think that is perhaps more effective at getting, other people invested in climate, than, say, statistics and facts and numbers. Yeah, so I think it's an important role, and it's unique, and I think it's something that we should take advantage of, and maybe more so than we are currently.
Is there something that you hope that fans of your sport will understand about the connection between winter sports and climate change? Is there a message there that you want them to kind of take home with them?
The world loves watching sport and connecting with sport, and I think that's something that society should continue to support and hang on to, because I think it has pretty wide-reaching benefits. Um, on the other hand, I think there is some conflict that comes up especially when a winter athlete, you know, kind of brings this to the table. It's easy to kind of push back and point out the massive carbon footprint of travel, and the sort of the lack of accessibility, in broader terms of winter sports to a lot of people. Um, but I think the message that I would love to leave with people is that, um, winter sport itself shouldn't necessarily be the reason why we commit to bettering our climate, but it should be, a motivating force. It should be sort of an avenue through which, athletes at the least, and the snow sports community can push that message, and sort of demonstrate the more tangible effects perhaps. But yeah, it shouldn't necessarily be the one reason that we're pushing to save the environment, I guess.
Yeah, that's a great message. I think you guys are helping in your little niche part of the world, and that's what I think everyone has to do is make a difference in your own little community that you're in, and all of those small changes and voices here and there scattered around make a big difference. If everyone had that mentality and did that in their own little corner of the world, we'd live in a much better place.
Yeah, I think it's just to remember the connection that you have with land and that we're the ones that are responsible for it. So just remember who you partner with, where you get your resources from, and how you treat it when you're on it. That to me is probably the most important thing, is staying connected to Mother Nature and the mountains and the ocean or wherever you are.
What does protecting the future of winter sports mean to you?
Winter sports, it's so broad, right? There's businesses from it, there's communities, there's young kids that just want to experience the magic of winter and grow up the way that I did, and there's nature. There's so many layers to it. So I just think it's to be able to protect that in the sense where we keep tourism coming, where we keep people getting to enjoy the space, and we take the power away from the big polluters, and we give it to the people that get to enjoy the mountains and the companies and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, just shifting the power from the big polluters to the people of these communities, and making sure that your resources are good and clean and renewable, so we're not losing the magic of winter, and these businesses can stay thriving, and we still have tourism and snow sports, and just get to enjoy longer winters, really.
I think that was great. And it's so important too. I think one of the big messages that we have at POW as well is shifting that responsibility from sort of personal people responsibility to those big polluters. But I like what you just said is we shift that responsibility to the big polluters, but we shift the power back to the people and the communities. I think that's really important to make sure that the alpine communities have ownership over what their future looks like. I think that's really, really important. I think that's a great message.
Considering the sort of rate of change, I will probably be able to live out a pretty good career. Like I've already had a lot of good opportunities. I'd like to think I'm still one of the young guns, hopefully. Um, but when it's said and done, like I've had a pretty good crack at it, and I think that I will have enough opportunity. For me, it's the next generation, it's the net and the one after that will probably miss out if we don't kind of get our act together. And for me, that's where it hits me. I think through my experience in the winter sports community and having the opportunity to chase my dreams, they just happen to be as a skier. Um, I've learned a lot about myself and the world, and I would love for those future groups to have the same opportunities, and also you know we should be doing it just for the sake of doing it.
So, bringing it back home to Australia, what is your hope or vision for Australia's alpine future in particular?
Again, it all just comes down to longer ski seasons. I just want to make sure that our the next generation, that our children get to go skiing. And it, honestly, it doesn't look great. The conversations we had at the start, like the seasons are shorter, the days are shorter, the snowpack's unhealthy. So it's just making sure that we've got a thriving and resilient ski towns, ski snowpack, and the community and the businesses. There's so many things that come off the back of the ski industry as well, and people forget that sometimes. The coffee shops, the people that show up there and clear the roads. There's so many jobs and opportunities from it, and there's going to be a lot lost if we don't protect it. So it's just making sure that we're doing the right choices, and that goes back on the government, it goes back on the big polluters, and it goes back on the ski resorts, the companies that own them, to make sure that the choices are correct so we do have a thriving ski industry down the line.
Australia's environment is like such a powerful and symbolic thing to Australians. I feel like we value the imagery and the like the wildlife and the plants and the landscape so much. And so if we want to, continue valuing that, then we have to protect it and sustain it. In terms of the Australian Alpine, um, my a lot of the best memories I have of skiing are probably in Australia, which is pretty crazy considering it's probably not, the most spectacular terrain or snow quality in the world. But um, I think I think that kind of says a lot. I like having having the opportunity to experience that and to ski in such a unique environment is really cool and really powerful. So I would love to see that continue to be a possibility for lots of people. In terms of, I guess, the broader environment, the flora, the fauna, the landscape, the ecosystems. I think it really, for me, it all comes back to protecting it just for the sake of protecting it. And it's such a beautiful environment. So I would love to see people continue to connect with that sacredness, that beauty, and that value, and support it and sustain it to keep it alive for no other reason than because it's the right thing to do.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah,
Much
thank you.
appreciated. Looking forward to seeing your results from the competitions that you've got coming up.
Yeah, thank
Best
you.
of luck this week.
Yeah, no, thanks again for chatting. It's yeah, super fun.
Thank you so much, Miff, for being here, and I really look forward to watching your coverage of the Winter Olympics next month.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I can't wait for the games, and I'm so proud to be a part of the Power team.
That was free skier and Channel 9 commentator Miff Rennie and mogul skier Jackson Harvey speaking to POW climate campaigner Elyse Kochman. I'm James Worsfold. Everyone can have a role in safeguarding the future of our Alps, whether it's educating your mates, collaborating with your community or local businesses, or advocating to politicians. If you want to get involved, head to protectourwinters.org.au to find out how you can make a difference. That's all from the POWcast today. Follow us on socials to stay up to date with what's happening in the POW world, and, as always, stay stoked.